Are you in love? Oh my God. That's amazing. How's it going? Oh. Well, that's interesting. Well, dating's a little complicated. Yeah, it is day old. Age is old. But we aren't doing courting anymore. Oh, you met him on Tinder. Cool. Well, that is how it is. Dating. It's changed since the 1800s. It's gone from a huge formality to a singular text at 2 a.m. that says, "You up? Link." How has it gone complicated? How have the relationships changed? How do you now go and search for your dream person that you spend the rest of your life with? Or are you just going to constantly be wearing the third ring of marriage, suffering? That's what we'll be discussing today. This is the Glass Floor Podcast. This is a podcast sponsored by NCFM, the National Coalition for Men, which was founded in 1977. It is an organization that is inclusive, nonpartisan, and very diverse. And it is trying to support fighting discrimination against men, boys, and the families that love them. And today we'll be talking about dating. So with that, we'll pass it to Tim.
Welcome to the podcast. This is Katrina Overfield, and I am Tim Goldich. And this is the Glass Floor. So let's begin. Dating in 2025. Wow. And what a joy.
Depending on who you are. Sure.
Yeah. So there seems to be two camps. There's this, in gender politics anyway, there's this idea that 80% of men are rejected, basically. Not good enough. That women and their hypergamy only recognize the top 20, maybe even the top 10% of men. And then there's another perspective that says, no, it's the men who are doing the rejecting by God. And that's MGTOW, that's men going their own way. And they insist that no, we're having nothing to do with those women anymore.
Yep.
And then there's me, who's old and doesn't. I've got my woman, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I would say there's more camps than that, to be honest, because I don't know what you call the camp where you end up in what they call situationships, which is where they're not ready for commitment. However, they want the companionship and luxuries of a relationship. So whatever you call that camp.
Okay. Yeah, well, right. There's lots of variations, isn't there? So there's monogamy and there's
polyamory,
right? So what's going on? I mean, I'm out of it. You tell me. So what is going on with dating in 2025?
It seems to be a mix, and we'll probably get around to this later, where it seems like it's a mix of a lot of mistrust and then just media sort of spoiling the dating field a little.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not an expert. I would like to point that out right now. I'm also very taken. So there's that. And I did meet my person in real life. So I will admit that my Tinder experience is very limited, along with any other dating app. But it just seems like, I mean, first and foremost, there's sort of this distrust.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I call it heterophobia. And there's tons of it out there. Yeah, I mean, the men think that the women are only after their money,
Yeah.
and that as soon as they get married, the woman will divorce them and take everything.
Yeah.
And the women think that the men are going to abuse them. They're going to maybe violently. So yeah, there's a lot of fear, isn't there? A lot of fear, distrust.
Well, it's also like who's gonna ruin what? With canceling today, you can be fearful that if a woman you say the wrong thing to her or do the wrong thing, she's gonna cancel you or try to
Yeah.
claim you raped her or something.
Uh-huh.
Baby trapping. I know some people are like, that doesn't happen, but there are some people that are like that.
Yeah.
And the other way around with women, where they get worried about these stories of guys who are controlling because they're so scared of losing stuff and
Uh,
who are scared of getting hurt. And, they hear about all the assault and the rape going on. And they're just like, my God, what if that happens to me? And,
yeah.
this lack of, what if he doesn't communicate well and other things.
Uh-huh.
So it's sort of all over the place. And it doesn't help, too, that we've just sort of lost our communication over time. I mean, I'm very blessed with my boyfriend because he communicates fairly well. But I have noticed with my past relationship, a huge hurdle is just communication, which honestly is the one thing that makes relationships long standing. And a part of it is because they're just so attracted to the phone. Um, and a part of it is like,
Yeah, like addicted to the phone.
it,
So they can't keep their nose out of the phone for 5 minutes.
yeah, a perfect
There they
example right
are.
here. This is how I imagine. Some people are going to be like, that's a little too high, but like 45% of dates nowadays, at least at some point, somebody pulls out their phone and it's like scroll, scroll, scroll. And then the other person's like, well, if you're going to do that.
Right.
And now they're not talking and they don't know anything about each other, interests.
Oh, isn't
Oh.
togetherness wonderful here?
Yeah. Haven't even touched their coffee. That's the
Yeah.
saddest part of
Oh
this.
no, that's
Even the coffee got ignored.
the coffee's gone cold. It's
So is their
tragic.
heart.
Yes, I get
Their
the
heart's in the
tears.
coffee.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, people don't really like talk anymore. They don't like talk about boundaries. They don't talk about where things should be, interests even. I've
Huh.
seen people end up in like 3-year relationships, and because they didn't really communicate that well, they find themselves like a year or two later, and they're just like, "You really liked that?" And it's like, "Did you all not discuss this at the beginning of
Jeez.
things?"
So you're a Republican?
Mm,
Just like that,
a bit, yeah.
huh?
It's and then because of that, they're just like, and it's a game too. There seems to be this game to catching people now. I don't know why that's the case. Now, I'm not saying go back to the 1800s and court them for like 2 years, ask the parents' permissions, keep sending flowers every day. But like, why is there a specific time I need to text this person? Like, there's a certain window. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's called like the 3-day rule.
Oh,
Where you wait like 3 days after the date, to text them because you don't want to look too desperate.
hmm.
And then you have to word the text correctly.
Yeah.
Like you can't come too forward
Yeah.
about how much you like them, but you can't like be completely disinterested or they're not going to want to like talk to you.
Right. Oh
Uh,
my God. Yeah. Yeah. Dating. Well, it's always been complicated that way. It's always been strategic. There was a book called The Rules,
mm,
right? That was like a massive bestseller. And the women, these are the rules, ladies, you know, and never don't call him and rarely return his calls and all this kind of stuff.
yeah, or the test that they put up with. I mean, I care for my friends. Some of them were just like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a test where I don't answer. If he doesn't answer, that means he doesn't value me." And I'm just like, "What if
Yeah.
he's at work?"
Yeah.
Or like, what are there are things like if he values me, he would find time in between things and this and that. And I'm just like, okay. Um, it's very. There seems to be, and even just with like Tinder, going back to the two people here, because honestly, with the disinterest in their eyes, they probably are on Tinder. I
Yeah.
love it. I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was an actress. I loved it. She was on a reality TV show and they were talking about dating apps, and she said, "We need to take all the dating apps, turn it into one, and call it What's Left."
What's left? That's good. Instead of WhatsApp. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
I was like, "Oh my God." But even with the texting, they're just like, well, you have to send the text this way. You can't sound thirsty. You can't sound. They'd be like, hey, um, how are you doing? You know, what'd you think about like the game yesterday and stuff? And it's like, okay, now send her like wink emoji, hug emoji. I'm
Yeah.
just like, what? Why is there a strategy to this?
Yeah, it
Just
always
for a
seemed
text
kind of
message?
the bane of dating for men. What we would gripe about is you could never do or say anything to indicate you really care or really into her, right? You had to play cool.
Mm,
You had to play like, I can take or leave this. I don't
yeah.
care.
And the girls are too scared of coming off too clingy too, because they might take advantage of that. But then it's like if you don't come off clingy enough, they're just like, oh, you're for the streets, and it's like,
Can't win. But think about what's lost of this hetero-romanticism that used to be, right? And if you go back farther, there's been all this controversy about the new Snow White that many are calling Snow Woke, right? And
well,
and you see, it's like, we probably talked about this already, but it's apropos for this segment. Yeah, it's like, Snow White was enthralled with this idea of a prince would come and would be
savory.
save her and they'd be in love and they'd be together, a couple, and they would do lots of things for each other. They'd walk through the woods together. Oh, they're back on their phones, but oh, it lasted for a minute. They were romantic for a moment, and then they were back on their phones again.
Yeah.
But but seriously, the prince, is just some thief, and he just gets like a peck on the lips.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I heard in the initial announcement they weren't even thinking of putting
That's
Chris
right.
in there, period.
They
And
were
I
gonna,
heard that and I
yeah,
was like, well, I
they're
think
gonna.
that defeats the purpose of Snow White,
I
but sure.
know, I know. And you see, the thing is, from a heteroromantic point of view, um, the kiss, the kiss is to awaken Snow White's sexuality.
Hmm.
That's the parable of it, because all these things are there. These fairy tales are parables. They've always got stuff underneath that's percolating that they're really on about. That's the subtext, and and then yeah, in a world of heterophobia, the prince is a stalker, and the kiss is sexual harassment or sexual assault even, and
My
what?
point to be made on this is look, we've done remakes of Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. I was going to say Aurora, but I'm like, she has an actual other name. Sleeping Beauty. And I don't think we've ever wokeified that. And please don't, Disney. I beg of you. Please stop while you're ahead.
Yeah.
It's just going downhill from here.
Yeah.
And nobody's complained about those. They're iconic stories. The idea is the prince saves the day.
Well, right, and that's
Well,
romantic,
in
isn't
Aurora,
it?
the
I
prince
mean,
saves the day. In Cinderella, he just sort of takes forever to find her because somehow I remembered was her feet.
well, I think from woke point of view, it's a mismatch in power. I think what they're seeing is that the man has the power and the woman is just, oh, you're so great. You're so wonderful. Look at you. You're so. But in reality, see, from a male perspective, woman seems to have ownership of so much.
Hmm.
She has ownership of beauty and grace and goodness and home and family and parenting. And she just looms large. She's the gigantress. Back in the day, old days, he'd say a man had to go make something of himself, meaning that he was nothing, really. He had to go and make something of himself. He had to add extrinsic values onto himself in order to be worthy of she, who was all things, beautiful and wonderful and earth mother and earth angel and You remember the old songs,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so uh, in that sense, it was always a mismatch where the woman had the power. So again, it's how you look at it. Yeah, you can look at it that way, that men have the power and women are the second sex or whatever, and you can collect all kinds of facts and truths that will support that.
Mm.
And you can flip it upside down and find a million facts and truths that will support that.
Yeah.
So we're just choosing to look at it as men have the power and women are the
The
victims.
victims, yeah. I think it's hard too because the thing is like also I mentioned media influence. And this is perfect timing because I actually just saw this on Instagram this morning. And it was a post about the expectations of men versus women nowadays because it's like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't work. I work corporate as well. Um, but there seems to be this expectation where you'll see these women who are like, I don't need a man,
Yeah.
but then they want like all the bouquets and the I should come home to foot rubs and like chocolate strawberries and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, I love it. And at the same time, they're just like, I don't need a man. I'll never need all this.
Right.
It's like, you can't, yes, you don't need a man, but,
Yeah. Need, as in you can live without one. So,
but you
there's that.
clearly want one. And to want one, you need to learn to accept, um, trying to think of the word, like sort of like to calm down and be able to just sort of relax and not have such an aggressive tone on it, if that
Well,
makes sense.
Camille Paglia says, even though she used to say she was bisexual, but she's really been with a woman for a long time now.
Mhm.
But anyway, she used to say that heterosexuality was important because this is how men and women grow up. The women grow up dealing with men's bullshit,
Yeah.
and men grow up dealing with women's
It's
bullshit.
bullshit.
You
Yeah.
know, and until you're prepared to do that, and you never really quite become an adult exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a interesting angle on the whole thing. Also, archetypally, um, it's a woman being a woman that allows a man to be a
You're a
man,
man. Yeah.
and it's a man being a man that allows a woman to be a woman.
Yeah.
They each sort of open the doors for each other to inhabit their archetype, as it were.
Mhm.
And maybe we don't want to do that anymore, but think about what's lost, okay? I mean, like in everything, every change, something's gained, but something's lost also. And much has been lost
Yeah.
in romanticism.
Mhm. And to that point, this is getting the Instagram thing. The post I saw, it was so it showed a baby mama with like 3 kids and her list of expectations, and it was like 6'2", good
Yeah,
job,
I know.
feeds my children. And then a guy who's like just looking for loyalty, love,
Yeah,
attention, and it's
pretty
like,
pretty girl who's nice to him. That's, yeah, right. Well, that's why they say that, it's that 80-20
mhm,
rule, which applies in lots of things. But in terms of dating, the concept is that 20% of men do 80% of the breeding, as it were. And that's been true all through history and prehistory.
mhm,
I mean, that's proven by genetic analysis. 67% of our genetic ancestry is female, which at first sounds weird. Like, how could that be? But that's because fewer men uh, manage to get their genes in the gene pool. That's all.
mhm,
Um, while some men manage to get a whole lot of genes in the gene pool.
yeah,
You know, um, so that's how that works. Um, and these men, the majority of men, historically and prehistorically, did not manage to get their genes in the gene pool, either because they didn't live long enough,
mhm,
or some alpha male shut them out, has his harem of women that he possesses, as it were, and then other men can't get in, or they were rejected. And
Or in some cases, simply couldn't afford it because some countries obviously had dowries and I'm trying to think. I
yeah,
think it was endowments in some other areas. It was called with the requirement of money for marriage.
yeah, it's kind of like the gatekeeping for men if they don't have enough money. And sometimes it was the parents of the woman that shut them out,
Mm.
like that. Yeah, right. So,
I think it's too is you got people like to the male perspective, them rejecting things nowadays. Because I know that switched a little. In the past, I feel like there's a lot more female rejection. Now I feel like it's sort of 50-50.
really, do you really do you think that's very interesting to me now? How you think it's true that a lot of men are just kind of like, nah, I don't want to.
Well, because some of them, it's just they're not willing to commit. They're too scared to commit because like so many things go wrong. As you
Yeah.
said with the fatherhood movement, you see so many
Oh
guys,
boy,
and
I
then
know.
also the worry of accusations and other
False
things. So they get
accusations.
apart, and then you
Yeah.
get people who've been watching like Tate and some of these others who are
Uh,
quote unquote alpha males.
right.
I'm sorry,
No, you don't have. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm a little like I
Yeah, but I would just say about Tate, Andrew Tate, uh, he was created by feminism and woke.
yeah,
They they created the cultural conditions under which an
somebody like
Andrew
that could
Tate
be
looks like a big hero to a lot of young men.
men. Yeah, but because of that, they're just like, oh, you shouldn't what is it? You shouldn't take women who are broken. You shouldn't take women who are broke. You should. And now the expectation's set in some of these guys' minds. And so they're like, oh, I don't really want a woman who's got all those troubles and this and that. They might just be using me. I deserve someone who's higher value and
Uh huh. Oh boy.
a bunch of other things.
Uh
And
huh.
so they're just some guys who are like that. They
Yeah.
think, oh, well, they're sort of part of this, whatever we want to call it, the alpha movement, if you will,
Yeah.
where they
That's
think they
right.
deserve everything.
Right. ABA, always be alpha.
And realistically, what is going to have to happen? What has to happen for you to be in a relationship is for you to accept that you got problems, they got problems, you've got baggage, they've got
That's
baggage.
right.
Life's happen. You both just got to learn how to deal with it together.
Yeah. Each sex really just has its own particular version of the human condition.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's the gender politics that's so poisonous. It's all this who's the victim and who has the power. And whichever way it falls, it creates all kinds of resentment. Women who go through life and think they live in a world that's basically a male heaven and female hell
Yeah.
are, of course, going to be very resentful. They're going to be angry, and it's going to radiate some way or another. And meanwhile, now we have men in the men's movement who think it's some kind of female heaven and male hell.
Yeah.
Same thing. Just turn around.
No, and it's just, yeah. And also, it's just hope for all of us in the end. That's the unfortunate part of it. Because it's like none of us can really win if we can't just learn to get comfortable and accept things are as the way things are.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean put up with everything. You shouldn't. Um, Ozzy and Sharon are a very unique set of people. I admire that woman.
Who's that?
Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I never saw that, but they were in a reality
TV
TV
show.
show. Yeah, that's right. I hear it was pretty good too.
Oh, it was hilarious. I loved watching it. It was so funny watching them all interact and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
So
god.
Ozzy was quite a character, right?
Oh yeah, he's always very unique. There's actually a podcast that they've done, I think, for the last like couple years now with the family older before he passed away,
Oh,
obviously.
uh-huh.
Um, and it's so funny because on TV show you're just watching them grow up. The kids are teenagers now. On the podcast, they're all adults. And they're just looking back at some of the episodes. They're like, "Why'd we do this?"
Uh-huh.
And some of the responses have changed so much. And he's always such a character. But that's like a marriage where I admire her. She went through a lot and
Uh-huh.
she really loved him and she got
Yeah.
him through stuff. You
Yeah.
do not have to put yourself through hell.
Partners. They were partners,
They were
huh?
partners in
Yeah.
life.
It makes all the difference.
You You don't have to
So
put yourself through hell for relationships, but you need to learn to comprehend each other, communicate, and make sacrifices. That's really the
that's
main
right.
thing. You gotta learn to make
Yeah, yeah,
sacrifices.
that's right. That's right. You can't live out of resentment. You got to live out of gratitude for each other.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing with dating is people aren't willing to make the sacrifices. They're not communicating
Yeah.
as much. As I said, they're on the phone all the time, and then with Tinder and everything, you never know what you're getting. This could be a hot blonde, and then what shows up at your door is
not a
looking a little
not a
closer
hot
like
blonde.
Violet from Willy Wonka and the
Uh-huh.
Chocolate Factory when she turned into a blueberry. Um,
Uh,
yeah, see, it's
well, why don't you take us out? What do you think needs to happen to improve the dating world of today? Because I mean, it's so bad
mhm.
that uh, we're only humanity is only producing a little over half the children needed to replace the adults. It's that. I
Bad,
mean,
yeah.
yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
people aren't really getting married anymore. That's
yeah.
the truth of it.
So, what do you think?
Personally, just from my personal experience, again, not an expert. I would like to put that out in the air. Not an expert, just a person dating 2025. But I would say I think the first thing is they need to talk more so they can build up that trust. Um, and I would say limit your social media intake
Uh-huh.
as well, unless you have very strong character and you can do it because a lot of people get influenced very easily. Um, Me and my boyfriend pretty private. We just scroll through and say and share funny videos for the most part. But there's some people and they will take the advice on Instagram posts. They'll
Oh,
open it up and they'll be like, "It's the first thing I saw," and it said to leave him, so I'm leaving him, and it's like, oh
oh
my
my God,
god.
yeah.
So don't be that easily influenced. Um, and just sort of listen to your heart and your gut and sort out and just find your way through. It really is just talking out and trusting. That's what needs to happen. And making sure you make promises to each other. That'd be my advice.
Awesome. Okay. So, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thanks as always to NCFM, the National Coalition for Men, for sponsoring us. And we will see you next time.
Oh, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
See you guys.